Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here at the 3TR channel, here to give you another episode of People's Questions, where I answer all the questions that have sent to me over the past week. And I must say, today is going to mark a very special episode because sadly, or maybe not so sadly, today is actually going to mark the last episode of People's Questions under this specific channel name. So, for those of you that don't know the secret, I would just buckle myself up for tomorrow because there is a massive, big announcement that is going to have a major effect on pretty much how the channel is going to be identified. So, starting off real simple with the first question, coming from a regular of mine, and I believe most of these are regulars. I think we got like a few newbies, so that's a good thing. The first one's coming from Santu Scarpino, and you want to know, has there ever been any of my Versus Series matchups that I feel that I could have done a better job with? Oh, sure. I think some of the ones I think I could have done a better job with are just some of the matchups in the Season 1. Because that was the first year I started, and so looking back at those matchups now, because I do rewatch them, there's definitely some things that have changed in terms of information. Not so much the outcomes, but just my viewpoints. And I think having all this extra experience, it has allowed me to kind of be a little bit more analytical and get my points across with more detail. And that's certainly something that I could have used all the way back then. But yeah, there's definitely a number of matchups that I felt like that way before. The next question comes from, I believe, the first newbie of the episode. So welcome, and your name is Kaiju King. I believe you're newbie. That name does sound somewhat familiar to me, though. And you want to know, in a battle to the death, who would win? Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, or Damian Wayne? Oh, God. Yeah, that's hard. Okay, so a four-way between pretty much the four primary Robins. To be honest, that is a very, very difficult one, but I think that is very difficult. I'm sorry, Kaiju King. That's an almost impossible matchup to come up with, a four-way, because each of them has their own strengths and weaknesses. So what I don't know is I don't know who would go after who first. I mean, I could certainly rank them in terms of skill sets, because I would say that Damian Wayne and Jason Todd are more deadly because, like, one uses guns, one uses swords and knives, and two of them aren't. They have no problem with killing. But I would say one is like the most acrobatic and probably best physical Robin, and then I think the other one is like the smartest one. And so I honestly can't pick a winner. Each of them has strengths and weaknesses, and so a four-way, I honestly don't know. That's very hard to call. Next question comes from Daniel Villegas, and you want to know, what is worse, Xenomorphs or Necromorphs? Honestly, I think Necromorphs are a lot worse because there's so many different varieties of Necromorphs. I mean, when you actually stick to the main set of movies that we have for Xenomorphs, there's a very, very small number of them in terms of variety. But Necromorphs, oh God, they're worse, and some of them are massive. So yeah, I would definitely be more afraid of Necromorphs. Next question comes from the next newbie of the episode, coming from the name Masan Beta, interesting name. And you want to know, if I was in the Final Fantasy universe, what would I specialize? Okay, this is what's weird. This question is very, very weird, so I'm going to slow down how I say this. If I were in the Final Fantasy universe, would I specialize more Akin? A-K-I-N. Akin. I don't know what the heck that is. To a swordsman or a magic user, and who would I want as a mentor? Okay, that word Akin is really bothering me. But I guess the best way I can describe this question, you want to know, would I want to be more of a swordsman or a magic user, and who would I want to teach me? I guess magic user. I mean, it's long range. There's definitely a lot of close range weapon magics, but swords, I guess takes a little bit more, it's a little bit more complicated. So I guess more of a magic user, and I guess the person I would want to be my mentor is Terra. I probably couldn't find a better teacher in Magic than her. I mean, there's definitely a number of other Magic users that I think would be good teachers, but I want to learn from the absolute best, and that's what she is. Next question comes from Phantom Sidus. You want to know, what have been some of my favorite videos to make to my channel over the years? Top list videos, those have been fun. Live streams, I've loved doing those. Pretty much anything that's been requested. Requested and those that have like been very, very popular. Like some of my Just Dance videos. Had a lot of fun with those. In fact, those are like, to this day, my most popular videos. I think my Ghostbusters, like, this is what's weird about that video. Like, my very first Just Dance Ghostbusters dance video, which was more of a prototype video, because that was before I had the recording devices that I needed to record it properly. That video has over 30 million views, and it still gets hundreds of thousands of views a month, and I have no idea why. So yeah, I would say those are just some of my particular favorite videos that I've done over the years. I'm thinking about doing more Just Dance videos at, like, when the next Just Dance comes out later this year, because I know they're going to announce another one like they do every year. So yeah, I'm thinking about maybe trying that again, but only if you guys would like to see that. The next question comes from Cassie J. Williams, and you want to know, what is my favorite anime-based video game? Oh, that's easy. That it happens to be Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. So yeah. Next question comes from Brady Burke. You want to know, what do I think of Noctis as a combatant? Well, he's a pretty, self-rounded combatant. He can use multiple different weapons. I would say his magic variety isn't all that big, but he kind of makes up for it with being able to combine powers with his weapons. So yeah, I think he's a well-rounded combatant. Next question comes from Demetrius Puver. You want to know, if/when Sony releases the PlayStation 5, will I get it day one or will I wait for sale? Probably get it day one. Interesting thing about PlayStation, when it comes to the consoles, I kind of seem to, like, speed up my need to get the consoles. Like, the first console, I didn't even own when it first came out. I didn't actually buy one until, like, last year. And then PlayStation 2, my parents picked it up for me, and I didn't get to play that for like a few months. And then when the PlayStation 3 came out, I actually didn't get one for like, I think maybe a year or two, and then I picked it up. And so the PlayStation 4 is really the first PlayStation console that I ever got on like day one. So I'm probably going to continue that with the PlayStation 5 whenever it comes out. Next question comes from Shadow DCS Gaming. And you want to know, would I rather attend the Jedi Academy or Hogwarts? Oh, that's easy. Jedi Academy, easily. Hogwarts is fun. The problem is that magic, when you look at how magic works in the wizarding world, it's so limited. Because without your wand, you're practically useless. With the Force, I don't need a lightsaber to do anything. I can become a Force weapon, and it has so much more flexibility than magic. There's only so many things that magic can do, and without the wand, you're screwed. But the Force has just so many possibilities. Like, it's not so much limited to what we're familiar with, but the Force has so many different uses, and you can even invent some of your own uses, and that's something that I would very much like to perform. So yeah, Jedi Academy, hands down, no question. Next question comes from VBlader1, and you wanted to know, how do I feel about the future of the Resident Evil in regards of the direction of the 2 remake? Well, I've heard a lot of people say that if 2 is any good, which I can tell is going to be awesome, and it certainly has the potential to dethrone Resident Evil 4 in terms of being my favorite entry in the franchise. That's a big maybe. But I've just heard a lot of people say that they would like to see a remake to Resident Evil 3, and if they want to do that, then sure, that's another game I would be willing to give a try. I do not like the original version of it, so if they decide to do the same thing with Resident Evil 3 that they've done with Resident Evil 2, heck, that's a first day buy for me. Next question comes from Hugo Blood 881. Do you want to know, given Anakin Skywalker's personality and Force abilities, Let's say Kyle Katarn or Revan were his masters. Would he turn out any different as a Jedi if he were trained by either one of them? Yes, he would. Very, very much so. If he were trained by Kyle Katarn, he would be living in an era where there weren't so many limitations. And so his marriage to Padme and his secret life, it wouldn't need to be a secret, because that was kind of one of the big things that was really bothering him. And so he wouldn't have to worry about that. And I think that being a Jedi after the Purge during Luke Skywalker's era was a lot more flexible. So I think he would just flourish during that time period. And in terms of Revan, that's interesting too, because when you look at how Malak turned out, I mean, he would probably end up being, I think if he were to train under Revan, I think he would, okay, put it this way, if you were to replace Malak with Anakin, I think events would play out very, very similarly, because they both would rebel against the Jedi to help in the Mandalorian War. And so I would say there's a big possibility that he would still end up being a Darksider. However, I'm not sure he would still be Darth Vader, because, you know, without Sidious he wouldn't be Darth Vader. But yeah, I do see there's a potential that he would still go to the dark side if he were under Revan, because Revan too. But yeah, I'm not sure that Anakin would go down the same path as Malak did, but yeah, there's definitely a big possibility that that would still happen. And the last question of the episode comes from the Immortal Super Being. You want to know, and we also have another Star Wars question. You want to know, do I think that if Vader used the Force powers to stabilize his vitals and got the suit upgraded, he could not only beat Sidious, but also got Luke and Leia on his side and ruled the Empire and actually helped out the entire galaxy? Okay, this is kind of complicated. So your question is, if he could use the Force to help his vitals, which he could to some degree, and he upgraded his suit, which he could, but he decided not to, and he somehow managed to get Luke and Leia on his side. Why he would go after Leia, I don't know, because I'm not sure if he would share that information. So basically, do I think that Anakin could run the galaxy better? I'm not sure he could. Anakin does not seem that ambitious to want to rule the galaxy. I mean, I know he says that, but I think that's what you're supposed to say as a Sith. As a Sith, you're supposed to drive for more power. However, I just never saw Anakin as the type who, even if he could, how would he run the galaxy? He just doesn't seem to be that type of person, personality-wise. So yeah, I don't think he would. I don't think he would be a good Empire maintainer. I mean, he's more of an enforcer. He doesn't have much ambition for total power. That's weird. If he upgraded his, there's reasons he didn't upgrade his suit. He had even Sidious asked him this. Sidious, I think sometime after Revenge of the Sith, Sidious actually made him a much better suit that would actually allow him to perform on par with how he was before he was injured. And Vader openly said no, he didn't want the suit because he felt that by having these limitations, it forced him to have to make better use of his skills, and therefore he would actually be better having these weaknesses because he has to try even harder than if things were easier for him. So yeah, I think that's kind of how that would work out. So that's pretty much it for this episode of the People's Questions. If you guys have any more questions that you'd like me to answer in next week's episode, when the channel will be under a different name, be sure to type them in the comments down below, but make sure you get them into people for next Wednesday, roughly before noon, before I start filming the next episode. And like always, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you next time.